Hi everyone. Hello. Good evening to everyone who joined us today. This is the episode 4 of pre hackathon events that is being conducted by Bhilai Hacks. And today we have a very special instructor, a very special guest with us, who also has a close connection with Chhattisgarh, from where Bhilai Hacks is being originated organically. So we have with us Samveg Thaker, who is a software developer at Microsoft, and he is an alumni of National Institute of Technology, Raipur, and he has been a DSC lead there. So, and he's a Flutter expert. He works on Flutter, and today we are gonna learn a lot about Flutter. And since he is working in Microsoft, so there is a lot of extra tips that he has for us. And the very important highlight I want to mention is that he is the winner of Smart India Hackathon 2019, which makes him a perfect guest for us and for each one of you who is just starting out in their hackathon journey or who want to excel in their hackathon journey. So, hi Samveg, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for the wonderful
Yeah,
introduction.
very glad to have you here. So I just want to let everyone know that today we are gonna cover the basics of Flutter, and Samveg is gonna walk us through how to make a cross-platform application using Flutter and the best practices using Flutter development. And along the way, he's gonna share his journey of getting into Microsoft and what tips he has for the beginners and for each one of us. So should we start some way? Are we good to go?
Yeah, yeah, cool. Thanks,
All right.
Samrati. And so I'm not sure if I'm a Flutter expert yet or not, but yeah, I just know a little bit about that. So I'll be giving out like kind of a direct demo of how to code basics of Flutter because that's what we can cover in half an hour or maybe 45 minutes of this. Uh, Apart from that, I've already documented a few blogs which I can share later on so that people can know what exactly we have done today and what are the best practices and all those stuff. Probably you guys won't be following any of the best practices in hackathon because you just need to like code it all out in small amount of time. So yeah, talking about the hackathons, I guess it should be fun for you guys. I suppose it's a four member team in this hackathon, right? Which makes it kind of perfect for you guys to do whatever you can on it right away. And talking about hackathons a little bit, what exactly you guys should do, what you should not do, right? So what's the judging procedure in this, Samprati, if I may ask? How will the judgment be done online? How
Yeah,
many
sure.
rounds?
So the teams could be like an individual can also participate, and the teams can go up to maximum four. Four is the upper limit. So we have different tracks that the students can work on, like machine learning or Android or web development. So we have the judgment criteria goes as such that the whole all of the teams would be going through an internal judging team that
Mhm.
would be the mentors that we have in our hackathon, and then we have judges, like we have four judges who will be judging the top 10 teams that are going to be selected from the internal judgment. So then they will be judged on the basis of all the criterias, like how their code, like if their project is viable for a
Yep,
like a business problem, and if their code is fine, and whatever their idea is. So so on and so forth.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, makes sense. Yeah. So talking about that, I guess basically in any hackathon, first aim should be learning, obviously, right now. And you guys in the era of online hackathon, so tour is not one of the options for you. For us, it was basically going out of the city and enjoying that. That was usually the second goal. So yeah, apart from that, I'll say whenever hackathon is there, try to take up challenges, try to take up some new technology that you might not have worked on, or if you're working on that technology, do something new which you have not already worked on. That will help you learn that particular thing in very small amount of time. First thing. Other than that, if you're talking about how to excel at hackathon, it should be through judges, obviously, because they are the ones making decisions. So it depends on how much you can impress them. The way to impress them is very simple. You just need to ask for as many reviews as possible, just ping them up that you have made this progress. This is the thing. This is the thing. how can you improve more. Listen to them and basically work out on whatever suggestions they have for you. So I guess yeah, that should be it. That's what five of us, six of us did in the Smart India Hackathon. That's what we did. There were 3 to 4 rounds of judging, and we just kept on bringing the features whatever our judges demanded. So that was one of the key things, I guess, that helped us win that. So maybe that would help you. And yeah, as I said, learning would be the topmost priority in this. So try to catch on to as many things as possible. In no way your code needs to be scalable. In no way there should be good practices followed. To be very honest, it's just 24, 36 hour, 48-hour thing. So you need to be as fast as you can. You need to implement as much things as you can. So I guess it's fine to not be perfect here, but cover as many things as possible and learn. So yeah, that would be there. Also thinking from users perspective would be more, and not thinking from tech perspective. That's one of the biggest mistake we do in hackathons. What we do is we think as much tech we introduce into our system, into our application, or as much tech as we can bring in to our platform, that will help us win the hackathon. That's not the case. I guess the more usable you make it for your user. So whatever business problem you're solving, whatever problem you are working on, uh, who's the one who's benefiting? Those are the users. So what they want in the application is what is more useful. Bringing out 4 to 5 such features might help you. So I guess that would be on the hackathon part. Nothing much, just code and enjoy, I'll say. Talking about this some echo. Yeah. So yeah, talking about my Microsoft experience, it's been good so far. Company is great. Everything seems to be great. Learning curve is there. Good culture is there. Talking about getting into it, it's all the same. You already know that it's basically uh, getting into competitive programming. It's as simple as that. You need to be very proficient in competitive programming while whenever applying, and that's not specific for Microsoft. That's for basically every company now. So except startups need experience, need your projects. But yeah, if you're applying for any MNC, I'll say that's mostly competitive programming. And then obviously subjects like operating system, database management system, and all those stuff. So probably that will help you a lot. Talking about interview experiences, they are the same everywhere. You'll get competitive questions. You will get operating system questions. You'll get DBMS questions. You'll need to talk about your past projects, or whatever you have worked on, if you have any. So once you clear the competitive round, now it all depends how much practical knowledge you have. 5 people can have same level of competitive programming knowledge, but then after that it comes to basically how many projects you have, and whatever you have done, how clear is that to you basically. uh, just putting out other people's projects on your resume, trust me, it won't help you get anywhere. So it's best you make your own project, however small it is. That's totally fine, but you should know it from scratch, from A to B, everything about that project. uh, Obviously do internships as and when possible. You'll often see posts about never doing an internship for free and all those stuff. Trust me, don't believe those. I and my friends have done that, and kind of one of the most useful internships have been our first internship, where we didn't get any money, but we worked on a project, probably finish it as well. But yeah, uh, focus on learning for now. If you're a first year, second year, you don't need stipend. You can earn it through freelancing and all other stuff. You have a couple of options over there, but yeah, try to focus on learning as much as possible, if you're interested in this field, obviously. And so get internships, work on the competitive programming. If you can improve your development, that's the best, because however competitive, you must do at the end. Whenever you join a company, you need to do development only, and that's what hackathons are for. Best place to kind of try out your skills and learn, acquire new ones, right? It's good to focus on your project, but do have a lookout for other projects as well. Whenever the presentations go or anything go, it's extremely good to look at other projects and what approach they have, especially if they're in your domain. it's even better because there are things we cannot think about everything, right? So there are features that someone else will do always better than you, right? So it's never a harm to learn those and acquire those skills, hear them out. It definitely broadens your mindset. So yeah, that would be there. I guess that's pretty much it. Anything in specific that I should be covering, Samprati?
Yeah, so those were a lot of amazing tips to be picked up from. So most of our participants are from first year and second year. So it's
Awesome.
amazing that someone like you, working in an company that to Microsoft, and you actually know how to get in, and you were on the same path. You were also in a hackathon. You won that hackathon with your team. So this is a perfect opportunity for students to actually start out, and you have shared a lot of tips like competitive programming and then making projects, doing internships regardless of what stipend they are giving or not. So projects matter. That's what I think you are focusing, like exaggerating on. So yeah, I completely agree, because and everything happening virtually, I think it's really important to collaborate with our peer,
Yeah,
and like, and hackathons are the best place where you can do that. Talk to your
correct.
team, talk to teams, like to talk to other teams, and then you get to talk to judges, and then they get to talk to people like you who come to us, like who come and teach us. So it's amazing, and I think it's a great way to learn virtually, because things are not happening conventionally, not even hackathons. So I think the tips that you shared will really work for our students during the hackathon day as well. So thank you so much for that. I just want to ask you a quick question that what tech stack are you working on in Microsoft?
Okay, so it's basically front end is on React.js. We have the web portal called marketplace.visualstudio.com. It's basically where we manage all the extensions that are used by Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, and all those stuff. So something which I have used is something what I'm working on. That's a good thing to do. So we have all used VS Code and their extensions. So our team basically manages those extensions, not make and build them, but manage those extensions. And
That
the
sounds
backend is on, yeah, kind of. So yeah, and backend is on .NET framework, C Sharp language, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
yeah. And how is your work from home going with Microsoft?
Oh, it's awesome. It's great. I guess yeah, it's going good. They have a very flexible. We have very flexible work, so like no problem as such. Yeah, it has some challenges of regular meetings and all those stuff, but yeah, that's it's everywhere, so
Yeah,
nothing special about
right.
that.
Okay, so we will quickly begin, but I just have another quick little question.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think your hackathon experience helped you in getting and landing the job where you are now?
Oh, that's a good question. So there are a couple of hackathons, especially the ones we didn't win. Most of them we didn't win. We just won, I guess, one or two hackathons. One was this, another one was some tribal hackathon happening in Raipur. That was there, I guess, two of the hackathons we won out of so many we participated in. So in every hackathon, as I told you, my tech stack was constant. I was working on mostly Android development, right? Uh, but we have implemented various things, right? We've tried Google Maps, we have tried Google Location APIs, um, I don't know, like almost everything, Firebase, and all those stuff. So most of these things are something which I've learned during the hackathon. Now these didn't help me directly into landing the job, but this is something which got me into internships, and the internships were very very crucial for me to get job basically because there's a complete round out there in the interviews of software. I had to completely talk about whatever there was that I had done in my internships from A to Z. So you can say that like the more you can learn here, the more you can speak up in your interviews for your internships. You can land internships, and then as you want to pursue your career, it depends on you.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, so basically, it actually gives you a lot of topic to talk about yourself and show your work when in the interview.
Yeah,
So that's really cool.
100%.
Yeah, great tips, Samveg. I learned a lot today, and I hope my audience learned a lot today. And so let's get in. Let's learn about Flutter now, and
Sure.
let's begin with the session. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So, okay, let me quickly share my screen. So let me know if it's visible. Okay, is it visible? I think so. Cool. So basically, I have blogged out most of the things I do. I write to blog out, right? Uh, Getting an Android internship, the one thing I talked about, you can find it in my blogs. I later put on the links. That's fine. But yeah, competitive programming was the development. You can find this link. Talking about Flutter, right? So how exactly to start with Flutter is something what you need to set up first, right? You need to set up those things, and there are a couple of things where you can which you can find on Google about setting up Flutter. That might be YouTube videos if you prefer YouTube videos. That might be blogs if you prefer blogs. I am the a blog guy, so I try to like just go through the blogs and do things rapidly. So there are official docs, right? Or whatever operating system you're working on, you can just choose and proceed with the respective blogs of that. I'm currently working on Mac OS, so I can go and like just check out all those stuff. They literally put everything line by line, and the expected errors as well. You can find those errors. Everything is available now on Stack Overflow and Google, because Flutter has a huge community now. You don't have to worry about that. I won't show these steps because they are quite elaborative, so I'll skip those steps. I've already set up my machine for these things, so you can do that too. It's very simple. If not, you can just put on the comments in the YouTube that you're not able to do a particular step. I can help you with that, or connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll help you over there. But yeah, most of it is easily doable. um, Once you do that, I guess then comes the coding part, right? So it's very simple. There's a simple plugin for Flutter on Android Studio, right? If you're starting and with Android Studio for the first time, it has too many features, but trust me, it's very simple to take on. So let's say you want to create a new Flutter project. We don't want to create a plugin package or a module. We want a Flutter application, so we'll choose Flutter application and just move with next. You need to give some name to your Flutter project. Let's say Bhilai Hacks for this time. Bhilai Hacks. So no uppercase will be allowed in the Dart language. So you need to either and no space is allowed. So it should be in completely lowercase and use the underscore. Okay, that is there. Flutter SDK path, application, that's correct. I'll do next. It's up to you whether you want to choose Kotlin support and Swift support. I usually do that because at the end we are creating cross-platform apps, right? So you will need this anyways, right? So yeah, you can do this and just finish. It will basically set up a template for you, a complete Android Studio project, and which can directly run on any Android or iOS phone, right? So I'll let it analyze. Meanwhile, I can talk about a little bit about structure and what exactly Flutter applications are about, right? It's set up, right? As you can see, there are a couple of things in here which I'll explain. But meanwhile, this is an iOS simulator, right? So I'll just run the app because it will build some things, build some uh, files, and then run. So I'll just start for it now, and maybe we can just talk about the packages and whatever file structure we have over here. Right? So about this, let's go there. It's all available on my Medium. You can just check that out. Right. So this is the default code structure. Dart tool will be there. IDEA, Android build, Gen, homepage, and all the stuff will be there. Right. I'll just talk about what we will use right now. Right. So what we will use over here is, let's talk about the first Android folder. Right. This Android folder is basically responsible for anything that will run on the Android phones, right? It is exactly same as when you generate a normal native Android code. It has a Gradle file. It has a normal app file inside which all your properties will be there and all those stuff will be there. If you open, there will be build.gradle. That is extremely crucial for your native Android code, right? Now talking about assets. So if you've already worked on native Android or native iOS, adding images, static images, I'm talking about adding static images is very easy. You just put it in the code and just give the path and work on it. It's a little bit different in the Flutter. So first, what you need to do is set up a assets folder. You can name it anything. I've named it assets so that it makes sense, basically, right? And then if you go down, there's a pubspec.yml file which I'll talk about. Meanwhile, our application is ready, so I'll just walk you through the code and then explain you how this works. So in this pubspec.yml file, you can add assets and everything. I hope the font size is visible. I have increased it. I guess it's not too much, but yeah, it looks visible to me, right? So yeah, it's as simple as that. You just have to uncomment this section. I won't be doing it for now because it's for future use. So yeah, you just have to uncomment this pubspec.yml, and then once you have the .assets file, you can just have any asset, right? So this pubspec.yml file is what we call as pod file in maybe iOS, and the build gradle file in your Android native code. It has all the libraries that you use. For now, we're just using one library, SDK Flutter. You can add as many libraries as you want, right? Any Cupertino, the Cupertino icons and basically material icons. There are two things for Android. It's material, which we follow. For iOS, it's Cupertino, and that would be there. Use material design true and all those stuff, right? uh, Talking about the app, so this starts, everything starts with main, right? Almost everything in here will start with main, and then you can later take it. Okay, let me shift it back, which is, yeah. So in this lib, this main.dart exists. This is where the start code or basically your app starts from, right? It is a very simple syntax, void main, which calls a function run app, right? That's it. Now whatever happens from here is something what we can control. So my app is a class over here which extends a stateless widget. Now there are two things: stateful widget and a stateless widget. You can go through all theories from the docs. I'll just explain what exactly means. If in case your screen has something which does not use any live data or inflowing data, you can use stateless widget. Otherwise, you have to use stateful widget. That's the only difference. For here, we are using stateless widget. This is a very simple app. Okay, so what does the app is returns a material app. You can learn all about widgets. I've already attached the YouTube video links and all the stuff in my blog. You won't have to worry about that. You can define colors. You can give a title. So as you can see, this is Flutter demo homepage. So you have given a title over here as Flutter demo homepage, right? And then in the home page, this is basically a stateful widget. You tell about title, and then there are certain functions made. Now, what is that? I'll explain it to you later on. Right now, let's test this application out. So if you see, it's a basic application where you just keep on pressing the button and pressing the button, and the counter increases. Right now, let's talk about what how to build this UI and all this stuff. Scaffold is the screen, basically the complete screen from here, this 7:26 a.m. to this bottom screen. This is a scaffold, right? This is a widget. Everything in this Flutter is called a widget, basically, right? Then the app bar, right? It's as simple as you inside the scaffold, you have basically two or three things. One is the app bar, one is the body, and one will be there, which floating action button, right? There are a couple of more. You can find out about that. It's not a big deal. So talking about app bar, you have defined a simple text widget over there, text another widget, where you put in a title which you've already defined over there. Now in the title, this is string title, right? And now if you want to update this, now let's update this with Bhilai hacks homepage, right? Let's save this. Did something happen? No. Now why it won't happen is because this is a stateful widget. The changes that have been made are in the stateful widget, and what we have changed is the stateless widget. So all I have to do is run this again, and this should be, yeah, there it is, Bhilai Hacks homepage. It's back to zero, obviously, because we don't have any database setup, local story setup, so it's back to zero. Now what happens is, if you want to change anything that doesn't have to do with the data, that will change without you reloading the complete application. You just have to save that. So what do I mean by that is, the current scenario of this is blue, right? Let's switch it. Let's say this to be red, right? And just save it. Yep, it's as simple as that. You can give it different kinds of colors, different kinds of things. You can probably give it shades, whatever you want, right? It's totally fine. Play around with it, get used to that. So, right. Okay, let's shift to blue. That seemed pretty well to me. Cool. So this was one. Now let's talk about the counter thing and whatever's written over here, right? I guess. Yeah. So going down, now you can see this is a simple floating action button, right? This floating action button has another widget, floating action button. It tells the on press, whenever we press the button, what should happen. We should call a function called increment counter. Now this increment counter is a normal function, right? A normal function that is there in almost every language. So it's a simple function. This is the function. What it will do, we'll discuss it later. Okay, increment function. Tooltips is increment. So what does this tooltip mean is, if you long press it, or if you hover around it for a later while, it will tell you what does this thing do. So for example, if I long press it, it says increment. This is a tooltip. So whatever you want to know in your application, you can just put a tooltip in there. Now child, this child can be anything. For now it is an icon, a simple icon. You can put it as plus, you can put it as anything, right? They have a huge collection of icons. You just have to dot and you can see all these things, right? It can be an AC unit, it can be a share. So for example, we want to make a share feature, just put it like share and just save this. See, now it becomes share. From plus it becomes a share. Yeah, that's about the front end. Now let's talk about this text, right? This is basically a text widget. Let me tell you from complete size. Yeah, cool. So this body, as I told you, Scaffold has a lot of parameters. Scaffold is a widget which has a lot of parameters, which can be an app bar that will come on the top of the application. Then there's a body, the complete body, right? And then there are certain like floating action button, all this stuff. Talking about the body, right? There's another widget, center, which pulls in everything into the center of the parent, like whatever parent widget is. So here currently the body or scaffold is the parent widget. तो scaffold के center पे वो जो भी चीज होंगी child होगा उसको डाल देगी. Now this child is a column for an instance, right? What a column does is, it's exactly what it sounds it is, right? So column is whenever you want to put things in a vertical order. Say this, and there were a couple more text, right? All these things that can come in a column. If you want to put it in the horizontal manner, like something you have pushed the button this many times, colon, and then the value, then it should be a row. It's as simple as that, right? You can learn about what main axis alignment is and all the stuff on talks. I can't cover things in that detail, but yeah, that's the basic understanding. Column is basically going in vertical direction, and row is in going in horizontal direction. So talking about this, how you can customize this, they have given almost everything you can think of, right? So for example, you want to style this text, right? This text is very small for now, right? You want to say increase its size. So first talk about size. Okay, that will go inside style. We'll go into this. We'll go into textile. Textile is a function that is taken by it. Now there are a couple of things in this which you can do, right? Let's talk about font size. Okay, font size may let's make it 24.0. It's all in it's, any sizes and anything in Flutter are always in float or double, whatever you call that. And even if you don't get it, that's totally fine. So yeah, let's save it. Yeah. since it was a stateless change because I'm just updating the size and the static stuff. You don't need to just rebuild the app. You can see the size has been increased, but now you see there are no left and right spaces, and it looks horrific. So what we will do is we will just basically wrap this content with padding, right? So it's very easy. You can just go into the options and you can do the wrap with padding thing. So now what you see is there's a padding widget, and then the child considers the text what we already built, right? Now this says edge insets dot all 8. What this means is it will give the padding of 8.0 on all sides. So when I save this, what the differences you will notice is there will be some difference on the left, some on the right, this 0, and this will have some a little bit more distance, and so on the top side. So let me just save this. Here it is. You can see zero shifting a little bit down in this coming here. What if we just want to do left and right stuff and not the vertical spacing? So what we can do is insert dot. So it has it has four options: symmetric, all, from LTRB, and only. Right. So if you do all, which you already did, it will give padding around all the directions. If you go with symmetric, you will have to define what. So for example, we just want in the horizontal direction, let's say 16.0. So now what will happen is 0 will slightly be a shift upwards, and we'll get only padding from left and right. There it is, right? Yeah. So there it is. You can make this 32, say, and it will have even more. See. So this is the thing. There are different. There are LT from LTRB. That means what you'll need to do is you'll need to define everything. How much from the left you want, how much from the right you want. Everything is customizable. So just put on left and like these things. So yeah, that's mainly it. Yeah. So just sorry. Say 5.0 10. 14. So this is basically in a particular order from LTRB, means left, top, right, bottom. That's a clockwise direction. So that way they have given it. If you now you have different kinds of uh, basically padding. This is padding. Then there's another thing. There are other ways to give spaces. Now what I was talking about was rows, right? So let me just make this a row and let's see what happens. Okay, so what happened is now the size was, because we have made a row and the space is limited on the screen, the overflow occurs. That is one of the very common problems of this Flutter thing. So what do we do now? There are a couple of things. We can either wrap this in the flexible, or we can either limit the amount of space they are gathering, right? So for example, as a quick fix, let's say I just decrease the value to this, right? So now what I was exactly saying, the row thing, right? Zero was first coming down and it was up. Now it has been changed to left, right. Okay, I see some comment. Uh, just a minute, let me check that. Yeah. Okay, what does the const keyword do in edge insets dot all? Okay, so it's basically defining that as a constant value. So you cannot have padding as a variable. For example, even if you remove this, it won't matter. But what it actually does is it defines that this padding will be constant, and you cannot alter it with any of the button actions or whatever you want to do. That's what it means. I guess that answers your question, Suvansh. Let me know then. Ashish asks which one is better, Flutter and React Native. Why is there a constant before edge instead constructor? That I answered. So which one is better, Flutter and React Native? Man, that's a very kind of question. which is better, Messi or Ronaldo. So it truly depends on what you like. I'm a Flutter fan, right? I I have my reasons to like Flutter. I have tried React Native, but it didn't click that much for some reason, and I just love Flutter. So yeah, for me it's Flutter, but yeah, it can definitely vary for some other people. Currently, look at it. React Native probably has a bigger community because it is a little older than Flutter. So not a little, but yeah, it's older than Flutter. So yeah, it has a bigger community. Uh, but yeah, Flutter has a cleaner code, way faster development on UI, good customizations. So yeah, I'll go with Flutter. Cool. I don't think there are any more questions down there. Cool. So yeah, this was there. What else? Okay, so let me go through this blog because this covers most of the things, right? Adding assets. I cannot show you that because it will take some time. So you can just go through it and just ping me on LinkedIn if you have any doubts. It's very simple. Just go to directory and add whatever things you want, be it a picture, be it a GIF, be it anything. Just add it and you can directly use it in your application, right? As I told you, there are different file structures: Android, iOS. Android makes sure that your applications run on the Android platform. iOS makes sure that it runs on the iOS platform. Uh, can you let us know about the life cycle methods? Okay, Riyas already knows that though. But okay, which is popular database package used in the Flutter? That's a good question, Aditi. I'll be covering it in later stages. Good question. Life cycle, yeah, that I can definitely explain once I go to the packages. So yeah, in iOS, to be honest, I have not worked in native iOS, so I cannot explain you everything very in depth. But whatever that should be used by you, that you can understand very quickly. So basically, pod file is something which is build.gradle of Android. It's analogous to pod file, and which is pubspec.yaml in our Flutter code, right? Moving on to the next thing, you can put in, okay, especially there was one Google service or info plist that won't come by default when you create a Flutter application, right? What you're seeing here is something which I have put in for enabling the Firebase on iOS projects, right? That is a doc for another day. That's a completely different process. Talking about library is the main folder. What you see over here, you can see it comes with main.dart, but now you need to structure your code over here. So this is a single page application. It just has one page. It's main.dart over there. But when you start with an application which can be multiple pages, right, you need to kind of just make certain folders and have proper boundaries to set in what code to keep it where, right? Uh, there is database, there are models, there are networking, UI, utils. This is something which I have made. You can differ from it, but the basic should be same. Like UI code should only consist of UI. It should not contain any data. Networking should only have the part that is concerned with making the REST API calls or making the GraphQL API calls or whatever that is, right? Models and database should only have models and things related to database, and utilities should have utilities functions like maybe getting getting the month name out of a number or all those stuff, right? So utility function is usually for that. Talking about UI now, you can divide UI further, right? Um, talking about divide, so in UI, what you will divide is basically there's a screen. Everything in this is a widget, right? It's this complete thing is a widget, and then it is broken into small widgets. There will be certain widgets that will be consistently used throughout your application. For example, you make you make a custom button. For example, right? You make a custom button, and that you need to use throughout in your application. You'll put it in say common widgets because that will be used by almost every page out there. So you can just directly use it. It should be a status widget, obviously, and then in screens you can just keep a bigger part of the things. For example, a complete register page, or for example, if you're talking about Instagram's Insta direct pages, right? There's an Instagram direct page, Insta direct page. That's a complete page where all your chats are. So that should be there. Moving on. Common widgets I explained. Okay, so I have given a few code structures as well which you can use, right? So feel free to go through that. Screens. I clearly mentioned there should be no API calls for database operations. That's for sure. The reason being that's the coding standard everywhere. Now, talking about things in hackathon, obviously you can do everything in a single page, but the more you fragment the code, the easier it is to debug when you have bigger problems coming in. Styles is one of the most important things that comes with colors and text themes or Dart. So what happens is text themes are very important in this. So throughout an application, if you use Uber, if you use Swiggy, if you use Zomato, you see there's a particular size for headings. There's a particular complete font style for a heading. So in that font style, the bold, what which text should be bold. So the amount of boldness it should have 300, 400, 500. There are various specificities of boldness, right? Then there is the font size, font color, font family, everything. So you can define that, right? For example, text of forum detail, whatever that is, right? You can just define it and use it anywhere you want, so that you don't have to define it again and again and write this many line of code again and again, right? This is for text themes. Colors. What happens is whenever you professionally work in any company or in any product or any platform or any startup, you directly don't get the color name to follow. You get the hex code to follow. One of the drawbacks that I found in working with Flutter was in native Android, in Java, in XML, you can directly provide the color code. In here, you cannot provide the hex code directly. All you need to do is you need to convert it into const color and then use it. So it's better to have a complete file where you just have all the color names mentioned with respect to their hex code and use those names, because using a name is obviously easier than using a code. Talking about utils that can have constants, app constants, HTTP constants, chat helper, helper class, whatever that would be used again and again, or basically is a utility kind of thing. Shared preferences in Android, database helpers in Android, say something which you want to use on all the UI constants. If there's a static UI constant, for example, there's a register button on your platform, right? That register button, we usually directly hard code a register. So I can quickly show that. I guess that should not be a big problem. Let me just undo few changes, right? Make this the column. Is it a column now? Right. Cool. So in this column, let me just add a button. Oh, this is one of the few problems. Okay, I'll get back to this once I let me run you through this so that you can understand that better. So what UI constants keep exactly is in that register button, there should be a particular, what you say, the string that should not be hard coded in your front end. Now, the reason for that is that might be used at a lot of places, and you don't want to change that string individually if in case you want to change that, right? You want to change it a single place and then just move ahead with it. So that is there. Okay. So no worries. That was there. There are different things. So this is the main function which we have. So this main function consists of more things. What then I have shown you, because it's a different kind of main function that this has. For example, if you want to have a particular orientation in your phone, say some applications don't rotate, right? We don't want them to rotate and handle rotation and all this stuff. So you can just like either have it up or down that way, so that your even if your phone rotates, your application doesn't rotate. That is something you want. So these things are there. If you want to try out like how, like if uh, how exactly can an application be made, this is one of the application that was made completely using Flutter, which has no native code, to be honest. You can just install it. It's available on Play Store. You can just download it. I and a couple of my friends made this application. So yeah, UI is something which is built pretty fast in this, right? And all those stuff. So yeah, you can check it out. And in fact, Google Pay is completely on Flutter, right? So that is there. What else? Okay, let me take a couple of questions and then maybe I'll continue. Yeah. Okay. So let me. Uh, I guess I answered the edge insets constructor. Life cycle of methods. Yeah. Uh, if anyone is familiar with Java, or there was a life cycle of Android where you uh, had basically a lot of things. But in Dart, what you can say, it has a very limited life cycle of widgets, right? And that is, I guess, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because when you talk about customization, or when you shift from one place to another place, right? Uh, Things come up that you may really want to control, but you cannot because of that, right? So it basically starts with the create state, right? Create state, and so basically what happens is it builds the stateful widget. Then there's a mounted function, right, which tells it if is it mounted on your screen or not yet. Then there's init state called, which you can say is basically constructor of that class. Whatever we want to initialize for that particular screen, that goes in the init state. Then there's did change dependencies, which is called right after the immediate state, right? That is done right before your widget tree is built, right? So whatever you see on screen is a widget tree. So whenever that is built, it's just called before that did change dependencies. Then the build function is called, which can be related to the render function on React Native. So React or React Native, whatever you're using, the render function is same as build function, right? Then after that, did update widget. So if any widget is updated, for example, if you click a button, or maybe you write something on a text field or anything, then the did widget update comes up. Then set state, deactivate, dispose. It's also, we can just go through that. But yeah, that those are the main things that covered, which is the popular database package used. So actually, there are a couple of I'll say there are a couple of packages that I use. I'll share a link on this. What we had used in Upsell was, I'll tell you. एक तो सबसे सबसे कॉमन जो सब लोग यूज करते हैं वो तो फायर डेटाबेस होता ही है. लाइक इट्स गिवन बाय फायर बेस इटसेल्फ. ऑनलाइन भी मिल जाएगा आपको, और लाइक बहुत सारा मिल जाएगा. द वन वी फाउंड आउट वेरी गुड वाज हाइव. It performed better than most of the, it was fast, and it performed better than most of the database out there, right? It's like more like shared preference, but yeah, Hive is pretty good, and it is encrypted also, so that's a good thing. One of the most commonly used, what we used was SQL Flight, I guess. SQ Flight, SQFLITE. You can find all of this on pub.dev. So they have their own dependency management, which is called pub.dev. That is there. Um, what else? So I hope that answers your question, Aditi. SQ Flight, SQFLITE is SQ Flight, and then Hive, and obviously Firebase. Cool. I'm a React fan, but still I like Flutter more than React Native. That's good, Suvansh. Okay. Is Flutter better than Java? Man, that's a vague question. Srijan, I'm not sure really how to answer the question. It depends. Java is one of the most diversified language. You can do backend development. You can do almost anything, right? So I'm not sure if I should comment on that, but yeah, if you talk to me about whether if I have an option to develop an application between Java and Flutter, I'll choose Flutter for sure. So yeah, if you're talking about in context with Android development, yeah, Flutter is better for sure. And I'm talking about my preference. Technically, Java could be better because it is faster to compile and all those stuff. And it is definitely easier to make it more efficient. If you talk about performance of an application, you can enhance an application in Java way more than you can do that in Flutter. But Flutter is lightweight, so it all has its pros and cons. Google has already replaced Java with Kotlin. Yep, Ashmit, that is true. So the official language for Android, native Android development is now Kotlin. So that is definitely there. Hey, thanks, Bhilai X, for putting the SQL like this. Uh, I guess this code structure can be termed as Samveg. No, it's not Samveg architecture. We actually, Vrihas and I both worked on this. So yeah, um, kind of we both try to work on it, and that is basically a derivative of all the Flutter architectures out there. We almost read through numerous existing architectures, all the code structure that I've shown. We have studied through that, and some had its drawbacks. So we try to like just combine them all and have our own kind of thing. Yeah, guys, do register for the hackathon. Hackathons are fun. Plus you get goodies, so why not? Which type of animation allows you to represent real world behavior? Which type of animation allows you to represent real world behavior? Can you elaborate that question? I'm not sure if I got that correctly. Create app, Cred app uses Flutter. Yeah, that might be there. Thanks. That was something new to me as well. Okay, Brias replied, SQ flight, sir, good vibes, SQ flight. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was showing something at that time which I skipped for last, but I guess I forgot. Yeah. So what I meant about saving content in a different file is basically, for example, you put a flat button over here. Okay, flat button. Okay, that is now I guess uh deprecated, but yeah, that's fine. I can still show you guys for now. Cool. So on pressed, we won't do anything on pressed for now. Let's put it on null and try. So child can be anything inside button. You can basically put any widget. That's the beauty of Flutter. So let's put a simple text, right? It says, yeah, hmm, yeah. Okay, so basically on press is null, so the button is set to this by default. Let me make it useful. Probably this should work. Yeah. So this is the button now. You can see all the ripple effect, everything is there by default on Flutter applications. That's the beauty. And you get this in you're getting this in iOS. Whereas when you should have to code this in native iOS, it would have been a lot tough. So yeah, this is basically a button. You can toast things up if you want to do. You can do a lot of things. But yeah, what I meant was never store things like this. Like hey, yeah, it should you should have a proper constant file and then just put things in that constant file, right? That is there. What else should I cover? Is there any specific thing that I should cover? Um, any question, guys? I'm not sure exactly what more to discuss. There are a lot of things to discuss. I can walk you through complete Avsar Flutter code. That's one of the good things. Probably, yes, we should, I guess, open source that. That might be a good learning for everyone else who's trying to work on this API calls. I'm not explaining API calls in 10 minutes, man. It's 54 minutes already. I cannot explain API calls in 6 minutes. But yeah, I surely can give you a walkthrough. I cannot like directly discuss the code at all and do that, but I can show you a little bit of code. So this is what it might look right. I'll just close all the code. Right, this is what it might look like after you build a complete application. Uh, there is too much code to see, but it's fun to write all those down, right? So this is what we came up with a remote source, right? Skip the import things. Let me pull this down a little. Decrease font size. Yeah. So we basically built an API client. There are always headers. I'm not sure if you guys know. Hello, sir. Can we get a simple navigation demo? Um, Yeah, we definitely can. Oh, should I just walk you through that? Now let me just walk you through this. That would be way better because it will complete a lot. It will cover a lot of things, and yeah. So once you develop a lot of routes, so it is route based. There are two three ways to basically navigate inside an application, right? But specifically there are um, say two good ways to navigate in Flutter. First is the navigator method that we are using. That is a good way. And the second one is get method. Get has been recently out and I just read a blog about it. I haven't tried it myself, but that looks to me as a very simple way of navigating. What we implemented was a navigator way of working things up. So what you do is you just like in a web page or just like React as we used to do in React, right? What we did was we just give a particular path to every screen. For example, if there's a splash screen, there's a register screen or login screen. We just give this simple a navigation tag and then tell them, okay, if anyone asks for this particular route, open the particularly this login widget. Now this login must be a name in your file. So for example, this was the login widget, right? You can see all those stuff out there. Now from login, where you will go from a login button, you will go out to the obviously to the OTP page, right? Talking about that, so let me tell you how to go to the OTP page. Um, right. So if you see there's a container over here, there are a lot of widgets. You'll have to study about them obviously, right? On press, you make a login request. You make an API call, you give them the username, password, the backend API gives response to you, okay, that this is authenticated, and you may let the person enter the application. So now let's go to API response. Probably this is a production code. I should not be showing it, but I guess it's okay because it's nothing major. Navigation is not a major thing to do. So yeah, it's as simple as this. You just put in a navigator dot push replacement name and then in which particular widget you want to go. That's home, right? So if you again go to main dot dart, you'll see slash home is already defined to open the home page. So you'll open the home page. Now there are a couple of functions in navigator. Let me just go to that. So this is Navigator. It has quite a lot of functions. I won't definitely ask you to go through this, but it's official documentation. It has say push replacement name, push replacement. So what that exactly is you obviously build a stack of screens whenever you open. The best example of that is if you talk about say maybe Amazon, Flipkart, or anything. You first see a list. First, you see a home page, then you search something, then a list of things come, then you click on that, then a page opens up with the description of that particular product, right? Then what you do is if you back press, then what happens is you come back to a list of products, and then if you press back, you come back to home page. What they're exactly doing is they're maintaining a stack of screens. What if you don't want to do that? Now that case happens uh, when you have a single page application. For example, you have a home page, and then in the Instagram, basically consider Instagram, right? You can shift to any of those bottom tabs. Now technically those bottom tabs on backpressing bring you to home, but technically they should just let you out of the application, given that that is a home screen. That is how UX is supposed to be. So if you want to maintain a stack, you just push named. You do the put navigator dot push named and just put in screen whatever you have. So the current screen is there, and then you just over that you put another screen, then another screen, then another screen. If you do push named replacement, what it does is it does not add onto the stack. It just removes the current screen. So for example, if I have a login screen, I want to go to the OTP screen. I will do a push named. There will be login screen. Above that, there will be a OTP screen. So that even if I back press, I'll come back to the login screen. But after I have successfully verified the OTP, now if I open a home screen, I should probably kill this stack because once I've entered the home screen, on back pressing, I should not come back to the OTP page or the login page, but I should technically come out of the application. So in this way is how you decide whether to use push dot replacement name or push dot replacement. That's it. Any other question? Does that answer your question, Ayush? Or should I give a demo? Demo should be pretty easy, but I just don't want to create a new widget out of it. Thank you, sir. It's clear now. Cool, man. Anything else? Any other questions? It's an hour already, so like I don't wanna bore you guys out anymore.
Yeah, that was great. Like it was a lot of information and lot of new learnings about Flutter and like overall app development. So
Thank
I hope our students and beginners picked a lot from it. So I just wanted to ask you a quick hackathon question because we are all here and in a pre-hack
yeah.
event. So what worked for you guys? Like, did you used to plan your projects beforehand, and or did you plan it on the spot on hackathon day itself? So whatever pops in
Mm.
mind, and then let's just go for it. What worked
Yeah,
for you?
we have usually done that. So most commonly, the most common team I've had is with Rihas and Shreyansh. So we three used to think of like almost right before the hackathon. Even Smart Hackathon, six of us were there. We all thought of a plan that was building something for farmers. It is some echo on your side, Samprati, I guess.
Um,
Yeah, thanks for that. So, what happened was we thought of building kind of an e-commerce for farmers. Yeah, that was there. So we thought of like so that they can buy maybe tractors or something like that. Uh, Within the first 6 hours when we started building, there was first round of judgment where the judges came in and just talked about the idea of what it was, and they completely changed our idea. They said e-commerce is something which everybody can make. What's new in there? So think about what else you can do. So we were like, yeah, we can pull out some other data. We can tell them what exactly to grow in which particular month. So whenever that, all those things, like whatever feature that we can think of on spot. So they said, okay, this seems uh, more uncommon or rare thing to do, then do this. So yeah, so that's what we did. We completely like changed our scenario of e-commerce and then went to another thing in the next 6 hours. Then these guys came in after 12 hours and they were again like, okay, this is done. We were like, yeah, we have done this. So they were like, okay, cool. Here are five more features that you should more, yes, you should implement. So every time they came, we just bring up features with them. They should be there. They should be there. So the more we can try to uh, bring out what is more usable to the farmers or basically users in our case is better. So whatever judges think of that you should do, probably try to implement. It's always a bit very like time not times are usually not sufficient to do that, but at least if you can make some progress in that, it probably uh, helps.
yeah, that
One
absolutely
time I
answers the
guess
question.
one of the hackathons in Bangalore, I remember we had an idea. We searched for that, but we found that there's already an application which is doing far more features which we already have. So we again changed the idea. That was some in Bangalore. I, Shreyansh, and Brihas was there, I guess. And then we just changed the idea. So yeah, it's usually very spontaneous. It's usually very spontaneous.
Yeah, so hackathon, like it's that opportunity where you can just wing in and like play with new ideas, and yeah, that's good to know. And also I think Rehas is your friend, so he's also stepping up and saying that he can help if
Yep,
students get stuck in getting started with Flutter.
yep.
So that's amazing. Yeah, so that's good to know. And also are there any quick resources which you want to share, that how you learn Flutter, and also
Yeah.
your resources like the medium articles that you wrote?
So that I'll share, but how I learned is like is something which I'm not sure if everyone should try. So I and a couple of my friends, Amita, Sajal, Shreyansh, all of us were working basically on our own startup, right? Also dot life, which I just shared about. So that was our first application with Flutter. So we were starting a platform, and we thought, why not have a completely new technology to work on and just like make it that. So making a live application for like for live audience is, I guess, the best way to learn any technology, right? So I have learned only through docs. I've not done any particular course in this field, right? So I think that should probably answer your question.
Yeah, and definitely share the links that
Yeah,
you wrote, the Medium articles, so that we could share it in our Discord community as well, our Discord server, so students can pick a lot from that.
yeah.
And
Just give me a minute. I
yeah, sure.
should. Yeah, okay. There, I'll post in the private chat because I cannot comment obviously.
Yeah,
But
that's
you
fine.
can.
We will. Our team will share it with the students. That's not a problem. And yeah, so before we conclude, just a quick question about documentation itself. So, how often do you go back to the documentation that you wrote, and how useful it is for students who are beginning, and how so like definitely you would recommend it because you are doing a lot of documentation as you're
Uh-huh.
learning.
Bookmark everything. I say whatever, however small things, just bookmark that, because what happens is, until and unless you have implemented something 50 or 100 times, you won't remember it, right? You, and it takes a lot of experience and time to do a particular thing 50 or 100 times. Even now I cannot write a complete, I'll be honest, I cannot write a complete Flutter screen with all API calls and everything without seeing anything. But the only good thing is, whenever I have done that, I have documented it some or the other way, or I have a very good bookmark section with me where I just go to that particular field and just see, okay, this was. I know the implementation, but I definitely don't remember the syntax, because previously I've worked on Java. Now I'm currently working on React and all the stuff. So it's not possible for you to remember all the syntax in all different languages, and it's perfectly fine to forget the syntax. Trust me, it's perfectly okay to not remember the syntax, right? And Google that. But the only thing is, you should be good at Googling. That's it. I mean, everything is available on Google now, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And write
Yeah,
blogs.
good advice.
Writing blogs helps. Like, it clarifies a lot of things for you, and it makes things easier for the community as well. Always.
Yeah, that was great advice. So, yeah, I think we can wrap our session here. There were a lot of Flutter questions as well that you answered very nicely. So, it was great having you, and we will share your resources and to our students if that's fine, like the link, the Medium articles.
Sure.
Yeah. So also everyone who's watching, please join the Bhilai Hacks server, Bhilai Hacks community, so that you don't miss out on any updates or like any sessions, amazing sessions like today's. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Thanks a lot, Samveg, for joining us today, and hope to
Thanks for having
collaborate
me.
with you again.
All the best to
Yeah.
all the participants and the team for conducting this.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.